Hey everybody, Rachel here with Givebutter. Thanks for joining for another success story from the Givebutter community. Today we're featuring Chicago's own Amate House. Recently, this organization's 37th annual gala went live stream and raised over $125,000 on Givebutter. If you're looking for a successful fundraiser example that used live stream, live entertainment, video tributes, raffles, silent auctions, teams, or a virtual gala format, any or all of the above, this one is for you. I have Matt here with me to share how they made this event so successful, as well as tips, tricks, and lessons learned, like always. Matt, thank you so much for joining us and sharing your success today.
Yeah, thanks, Rachel.
So to start, why don't we kick things off by having you introduce yourself and a little bit more about your incredible organization.
My name is Matt, and I work for Amate House here in Chicago. It's a 37-year-old postgraduate service program that was founded here in the city by two lay missionaries, and has since seen over close to 900 college students come through our program, where we place them at different sites throughout the city, which include anything from schools to various nonprofits in the city, in the medical space or working with refugees. It can be a number of things, but we've had over 200 site partners here in the city of Chicago, and we are super excited to be working with this year's current cohort of fellows. And in combination with the service that they're doing full time, we house them and also run a leadership social justice development program. So after they come home from a day of full-time work, they're able to kind of unpack their experiences both in a formal and informal setting with their housemates and our program staff. So it's a kind of a full year of leadership formation and service.
Wow, that must be so life-changing, and so many lives have been changed over the last 37 years.
Yeah, and I'm also a proud alumni of the program.
Oh, amazing.
Several years back, but that's why it's near and dear to me, and so I'm very happy to kind of be back in a role that I can support the program.
Yeah, that's incredible. So we're all inspired. We're all on board, Amate House. Tell us more about how you're raising funds most recently for the work that you do. I mentioned that you kind of did it all in your live stream event. So can you just start with step one? Like, what was your goal? When did you start fundraising? It used to be an in-person event. So how did you make that decision? All of the like getting started. How did you start?
Oh my gosh, it was daunting, and if anyone's listening to this, you're probably like, yeah, they were in a position like I was, where I'm like looking at testimonials and I'm reading up on things, and I'm been tasked by our executive director and our board to think of like, how are we going to pivot in a virtual setting? So last year, our gala was always in March or April-ish. And at the beginning of 2020's gala was all planned to be in person and had to pivot last second. And of course, people were willing to jump on to like a last minute Zoom event. The committee did a great job, but I think with Zoom being, video conferencing being more novel at the time, and people being just a little more like kind of accepting of that, we were able to kind of still have the event, but without all of this, all the in-person stuff. And people were very gracious and generous as well. But as we're coming into 2021, and we knew we weren't going to be in a position where a lot of our supporters were going to be able to feel comfortable coming to it, a hybrid event. Plus, we just didn't really know how to forecast that months in advance. So we were like, it's going to have to be virtual, and we're going to have to do our best to make it enticing. And that was step one: is how do we make this an event that's enticing? And we thought, we're in Chicago. Comedy has always kind of been a big part of the city. It's the second city, and I guess way back in Amate House's past, this in an in-person gala, this kind of started out almost as a comedy experience, sometimes in partnership with the second city, sometimes with local comedians. And we're talking like 20 something years ago. And so we thought that might be a fun thing to dust off and
Totally.
try again. And you've got all kinds of comedians who are looking for that kind of work as well. So it worked out. So that was step one.
Okay, got it. So it was pivoting to how do we go virtual again? And how do we take it to the next level? How do we do that in a way that makes sense to our audience? So then what? How did you get the ball rolling?
Yeah, then we like, the committee got together and we said, okay, this is what we wanted to do. Let's start figuring out the theme. We're thinking late night, kind of talk show style or kind of late night comedy club vibe. And almost like a made for TV experience, right? So because people ideally weren't going to be zooming into this, they would be clicking a link and almost like sitting in their living room watching a show, and being able to enjoy it from that sense. And that meant it had to be well planned out and had good personalities up there and be something enticing to watch. So the committee got to work looking for local comedians and individuals in the city who, I think both kind of aligned with our organization's values, but at the same time had some, prominence in the city and in their field and were funny and great people. And so we were able to work with our host, Michael Isaac, who is a comedian here from the south side of Chicago, who's been doing a lot of work at Zanies, which is a big comedy club here in the city. And Michael was awesome. If you're watching this, you should look at Michael Isaac. He was an amazing host. He's a hilarious guy. He's so great. And we really hope we get him in person for next year, kind of bridge him over. But we started working with him and he connected us with Pat McGann, who is a kind of I guess a bigger name comedian here in Chicago, also from the South Side. And Pat's career has taken off. So we kind of went with this host and headliner. So we were going to have this comedic, fun, energetic host, basically run our program and make it really engaging throughout for 45 minutes to an hour. And then the last half an hour, he was going to turn it over to Pat McGann for a 30-minute comedy show, all live streamed into your living room. And so that was, once we were able to figure out that setup and kind of get those contacts made, we were like, okay, we're in business. Let's design a logo and let's like start to build out this program and think about like the ways we can raise funds and promote this event for Amate House. And so, yeah, that was the start.
So is that, once you nailed the format, is that what sort of led you to the path of Givebutter then?
Yeah, and I think that was kind of like, okay, we're going to be live streaming this event. How do we do it in a way where people can engage and give and still just feel like connected to what's going on in the event, but in a way that's still just fun and enticing. And I think Givebutter just has that, like, whatever tool you need in a very simple, I think, user-friendly way. It was kind of the perfect tool for us, because we didn't want to pivot to something that had a million bells and whistles and too many options, or something that was going to be a little more too complicated for our audience to kind of really understand or kind of navigate. And Givebutter was like, great, here's the page. We're going to drop our live stream into this spot, and as an audience member, you can watch donations come in and our progress bar go up, and our folks can give people shout outs in live and kind of in real time. It was just like, it was great. Not to mention the gifts and the pictures and the things that people could put on there, like that stuff just was all like a cherry on top. So
yeah, that's amazing. So that live interactive feature was really important and a tool that was simple to use, which makes a lot of sense when you're combining so many different features into your event. You want a place that keeps it simple. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen here so people who I know are on the edge of their seat right now are like, what does it look like? Show us. Here it is, everyone. This is, of course, going to be linked below so that you can rewatch the entire show. If you're looking to see exactly how the format and run of show went down, you can look at the entire format, including teams, event bio, beautiful graphics that are perfectly sized and formatted, info for raffles, sponsors, fun videos, and more info. And of course, like you said, lots of people loving all of the gifts and comments in the live supporter feed. I think this page was just so beautifully put together. What are some of your tips, tricks, lessons learned as we look at this page?
Yeah. I loved the fact that if like I think at the bottom of the page there is just like it's just like kind of a blank canvas where you can input videos and images and text, and because a lot of I basically did most of the design work, and I mean I pretty much we had a kind of a designer come up with our logo early on for our save the date, which
Love
we
it.
decided to just go with a postcard this year. And once I've, they kind of sent us the color scheme and the aesthetic, I took it and just went to Canva, and and Canva's free for anyone. And I just started playing around with the content and decided, oh look, I can actually make like these are PowerPoints in Canva that I just kind of used our aesthetic and our font and our color scheme, and then I downloaded images of each so that I could actually just plop them into Givebutter, and they would look, like this professionally designed page as I scroll down. And then of course we had a couple of videos we released ahead of time. Before the event, we had an alumni who is barista, and on top of making cocktails and was a bartender at some point, she made a cocktail for the event. And then Michael Isaac, our host, we actually had him come to a community night with our volunteers, with our fellows, and he hosted kind of a newlywed style game with the housemates, because they all lived together. And so he's kind of asking them questions like, who's, the cleanest one in the house. And so that was kind of a fun way to get people to learn about who our host was. And then down here was we sold advertisements, and we posted our advertisements on our social media page, Facebook and Instagram, our LinkedIn profile. And then we also posted them all on our Givebutter page. And so in addition to that, when the sponsorships went live on our Givebutter page, like on the sidebar somewhere, they also had the image there as well, because you can attach an image to your donation. So we just love like the blank slate.
I have to say, these are probably my favorite ads I've ever seen on Givebutter, because normally it's just like sponsor logos that maybe link somewhere. But I just thought it was really sweet seeing the personalized messages. We're so proud to support you. Have a wonderful night, etc. I just thought it made it more interesting and made me want to read the ads and want to engage and learn about these businesses, which is a win for them and a win for you. So I just want to give a special shout out to your ad section and sponsorships. It looks so good.
Thank you. Yes, we're blessed with some amazing sponsors and partners, and many of the service sites that our fellows work at, their organizations were, also willing to purchase an advertisement on behalf of their current fellow. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. So any other tips, tricks, lessons learned?
Yeah. The team stuff was great. And one thing I decided to do was actually record my cell phone of myself on Teams, or excuse me, on our Givebutter page, and I kind of recorded how to connect your Facebook account to it.
Nice.
And I took that video recording, which was just kind of a screen capture on my iPhone, and I sent that to board members and our associate board, which is our junior board, and our staff. And that really helped in kind of like teaching some folks who were maybe not as tech savvy to kind of like learn how do I actually get on this team? How do I connect my Facebook? And the teams were great. You can see kind of the totals there of what the teams and the staff and the associate board were able to raise. And it was, it was such a great feature, because that's something we would track normally, and Givebutter made it way easier for me to see,
Mm.
like where folks were at, and being able to set goals and say like, can we get our whole entire board of directors to get 10 or more supporters, before the event. And that was a big help to have that metric visible.
Mhm. You mentioned board of directors, which made me think of, not always, but oftentimes board of directors can be hesitant to onto new technology, as well as some of our like founding donors or more old school traditional donors. How did you respond to an event like this? Because it was your first virtual event. Did you have to do some additional like walking through, or did most of your supporters find it pretty easy to use?
Yeah, with the board, it definitely was a kind of like a walk, and I got the committee made up of, the committee for this event made up of a few board members. They definitely helped, but like I think even pitching it to them was me kind of, almost like kind of a Givebutter rep, like, here's the deck, let me show you, this is how we can use this, and this is how
Yeah.
it's going to make the most sense. Like we can, the event will be here, and you can see donations come in, and supporters can click on your name, as someone who enticed them to give. And honestly, just the visual site itself, and after I started to play around with it a bit and showed it off to them, it kind of sold itself. And I think the big thing was being able to play around with tickets and the donation levels. Like we typically have a paddle raise that happens during the event, and you can see our paddle raise. I was able to actually put all of our levels of paddle raise as donation options, and kind of a brief explanation of like
Mhm.
how much, what does what. Obviously during a real paddle raise and during the actual program, we kind of go in more in depth and give each level its own amount or its own, I think, broader explanation. But it was nice to be able to put that here. And what you don't see currently is our tickets. And this was really interesting because we decided that we were going to do a virtual raffle for everything. And so because we have these options here, that I've since hid the tickets. When the show went live, we stopped selling the tickets at a certain point. But you were able to actually write in, like, based on the prizes on our website, how many tickets you wanted to go and what. And so,
Okay.
that we were able to kind of find a way to use this tool to make a virtual raffle make sense for us and be super cost effective. So
Very cool. Interesting to see how you kind of pivoted around that format. It makes a lot of sense. Even after your event, it still makes sense looking at it. So well done there. I'm wondering, just as we close here, and there's so much more we could talk about, but I'm wondering, what would be your one word of wisdom or encouragement for other fundraisers who are listening to or reading our conversation right now using Givebutter? What would you say to them?
one, you've definitely made the first biggest correct choice, in my opinion, in using Givebutter. I think it's such a great platform from start to finish. And I think being willing to just kind of to be creative and lean into your supporters, lean into the folks who are either on your committees or are volunteering to support the events, and really create those teams. The teams themselves, like sharing the event on Facebook, connecting it to people's social media. Like we got so many more dogs starting to wake up. We we got so many more supporters. I think we had over 100 new people support or donate to our program through
Wow.
this event, which is a lot more than we ever typically would get. So even though we all have to pivot our numbers and change up what this year is going to look like financially, like we still take away a big win is that we brought in a lot more people to our program, because I think it was much more accessible and engaging. So you lean on those folks. And I'm of course happy to talk to anyone who wants to reach out and chat a little bit more about Amate Magic.
Thanks, Matt. And where can people find your organization if they want to follow along after watching this?
Yeah. So our website is www.amatehouse, that's AMATEHOUSE.org, amatehouse.org. And of course, My email and contact information are there. There's, you can just go to the Meet the Staff section, but you can also actually see kind of the results of our event on our Amate Magic website, which is a page within our Amate House website. And you can see a lot of the behind the scenes photos and some more information on how we kind of linked it. But that was one thing I forgot to mention, and I don't want to make this too long, but we love that you can embed the tickets into your website, the ticket sales feature. So that made it really easy for people to find our event and purchase tickets for it.
Such a good tip. We'll be sure to link your page below here. Thank you so much again for joining us and sharing your success story with us today.
Yeah, it was a pleasure.
And thank you everyone else for following along. We will look forward to seeing you next week for another incredible success story. Please be sure to like, share, and subscribe below to Givebutter's YouTube channel. We'll see you again soon. And until then, happy fundraising. Bye, everybody.